Thanks for joining us right after lunch. So my name is Claude Achcar. Going to be having the pleasure to moderate the panel of this session, but just to kick it off, I'll have some slides to set the context. And if the panelists disagree with anything I'm going to be saying here, that's great. Let's. So yeah, this is not the first session on the GCC, so Henry Sutton earlier this morning had a similar slide to that, but I like mine with all the colors. You know, as much as I've traveled personally myself to the GCC, I think it's good to see things in context here. Of course, on the we have the Red Sea on the left, we have the Arabian Sea on the south, and there's a country of Yemen which is missing, which is not part of the GCC, and that's why it's missing. And then we have the Persian Gulf on the right. So a little bit of troubled waters, but very, very busy waters on either side. And really the Arabian Sea, which gives into the Indian Ocean. And therefore, a lot of cables can come into Oman. So I'm just showing you the strategic location of Oman over here. So the approach I'm taking here with this little bit keynote is to just show, I mean, the title of this session is East and West. And so I'll be talking West mainly being the US and East mainly being China. But I will be talking a bit about Africa, about other parts of Asia as well. So just to show here a little bit some of the investments that have been taking place. The most notable one really was the Microsoft investment into G42, which is part of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of the United Arab Emirates. This took place very recently, but what it entails is even more important than the investment itself, because it means Microsoft has a board seat now on this company that has a Chinese CEO. But now it comes with a lot of conditions that G42 needs to divest from Chinese investments that they have made. Cerebras is another company. I don't know if all of you are familiar with, but it's a company trying to develop chipsets as well for GPUs. They also have a relationship with G42. As well as to develop an LLM, or an Arabic language. Palantir, which is a company in analytics, a very, very big company, has been having multi-year relationship with the region. And OpenAI has been very active trying to raise funds from the GCC. Of course, Sam Altman wants $7 trillion to build data centers, so he needs funds for that, and he has a chip venture as well. To continue just very quickly, you know by now Adia and Mubadala being part of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of the UAE. Mubadala has done a lot of digital infrastructure investments, so that's good to highlight because this is what this conference is about. Adia, a little bit more diversified, some digital infrastructure, but also some enterprise software and so forth. Andreessen Horowitz, the famed venture capital company from the US, has been also working a multi-year relationship with PIF, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, and now even seeking to do even greater things. So you can see there is a big thirst of US technology so far, right? And nobody is better than the US at AI technology, which is the hottest technology today. You can see here a little bit the latest activities of the US hyperscalers in the GCC. What is not being said here, but very important, is that most of these happened just in the last couple of years. Okay, so the country did not arise all of a sudden or become rich all of a sudden. It's always been there, but all of these developments in the last couple of years. So, and I will get into all of that. Quite significant presence, as you can see. So moving on from the US here a little bit to just to show you the role of the GCC in developments of Africa. This is the graph on the top left, is not specific to technology or digital infrastructure, is overall, but it's immensely telling what's happening in the last couple of years. You know, the picture says it all. G42, again, they're very, very active. That's the company that's investing in AI and so forth, part of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of UAE, is investing in Kenya. As we all know, the news hit the wires just yesterday that now they're, they're bringing Microsoft onto that investment as well. So, and as a result of that, you have G42 and Microsoft building data centers and allowing AI development in Kenya over many years, I presume. Same way, Agility of Kuwait and Gulf Data Hub of the UAE also have similar plans to build data centers in places like Ghana and Egypt and so forth. Just to highlight India a little bit, GCC has been investing. I hope you've been able to hear me with all of this. GCC's, it's a pretty recent now, their interest in India, and you'll, again, they've been always investing in China, but now China is a little bit less on their radar screen at the moment, and India has stepped in. So as you can see, India has been taking 58% of all investments in Asia since 2020. UAE, India have a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which is, if you're not familiar with it, which is an FTA, free trade agreement, but much bigger than that because it involves services and intellectual property rights and so forth. And you can see here some of the investments that they've made from the UAE in India, mostly in digital infrastructure. So this is collaboration here with ASEAN. Again, it's active, although not as much as India. And Gulf Capital is a company from private capital company from the UAE, from the Middle East, that's investing now, opening in Asia. So moving on to China. China has been negotiating a free trade agreement with the whole of GCC, so the 6 countries, not just one at a time, for 20 years now, but going nowhere, and there is no real reason to do it, because really trade between the two has been mostly about, in the past, of course, selling oil. China takes a lot of oil from the GCC, so very, very important trade partner, as you can see there. 20% of the GCC trade globally is with one country, and that's China. And you can see the growth in the past 10 years, and you can see the number of investments that China has made into the GCC. It's not just seeking money from the GCC. So this FTA now is expected to be closed sometime this year, perhaps. So that's very important. So China is not being left out. And once that happens, tariffs will drop by 90%. So this immense trade that happens between GCC and China will accelerate even more. And I've highlighted one area specifically, which is decarbonization. Because one thing we've been talking about a lot, AI, but another thing that the GCC is very big on, which is a bit interesting because they're big fossil fuel markets, but they're very big into decarbonization. There's nobody better at decarbonization technologies than China by a mile, as we all know. And then, yeah, just showing here some of the collaborations between GCC and China, mostly around semiconductors and around AI. Now, you're going to say, hey, but how come? You just said that they need to divest. And you'd be right to say so. This is older news, 2020. What's going to happen to all of these investments? I don't know. On paper, now GCC is supposed to divest. That's the price they have to pay to have access to American technology. So, one can say that the US has weaponized AI to get the GCC on its side, thanks to the better, more advanced technology coming from the US at this stage. You can see here also Aramco Prosperity 7 is an Aramco company, the biggest company in the world, right, which is really the source of the funds behind the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. A bunch of investments in Chinese AI companies. And same way, Mubadala, PIF as well, and G42 into the who's who of AI from China. So one other thing that the US has been working very, very actively across the world is to get them to divest from any Chinese technology, especially Huawei, supposedly because Huawei, if Huawei is a supplier of the wireless network or telecom network overall, then there's going to be backdoor and cybersecurity, etc. But look at that. It's practically every mobile operator of the GCC is powered by Huawei, so I don't think that's going to happen. And you can see here also some of the hyperscalers from China. You compare that with the one I showed you before, which happens literally in the past couple of years. You know, the US hyperscalers, they dwarf the Chinese ones in their presence. But Alibaba was the first one in the region there in 2016. So they were there earlier. So again, one more slide here, notably on the sustainability. Don Dame, I know you want to talk also about the solar park, so I'm bringing that up here, and you'll tell us what your opinion of that is. But basically here you're bringing together the best technology for decarbonization, for renewables, etc., with the best conditions, with the best generation. When you talk solar panels, you need to have good solar conditions, and there's perhaps no region in the world that has better conditions than the GCC. And by the way, you know, the UAE, you've been there, you know, it's, there's a lot of land to build these solar panels, and Saudi Arabia has quantum times more as well. So this is just examples here of one solar park in the UAE on the left and another one in Qatar on the right. So you can see basically the good synergies between the GCC and China on that. Just concluding on that here really, in August 2022, the US bans high-performance GPUs to China. About a year later, they do the same with the GCC. Yes, those same GCC now that are Microsoft investing into G42, so things have changed very dramatically, literally over the past few months. As you can see there, April and May, between UAE and Saudi Arabia, the two powerhouses in the region there, across the board, including AI, there's healthy competition between them, but both of them aiming to be an AI power for the region, if not globally. And they need US technology for that. So they have to pay the price, and that is divesting from China to get this US technology. So I'm finishing with that. What are my takeaways here of what's happening? GCC is hot, and the reason is Zhao had a very good idea to set up this, this track and to talk about GCC and to have panelists who know a lot about the GCC as well. Competition between UAE and Saudi Arabia is good. Both countries are eager to establish AI leads for the region. The US is capitalizing on this thirst, obviously, as I just explained. The region is also active in renewables at scale. Some of these solar farms, for example, are the biggest in the world, and despite the fossil fuels legacy, right? So for this, China is the global leaders and partner of choice. So they have a bit of a conundrum here, right? They cannot eliminate Huawei from their wireless networks, as I told you. They need China for this decarbonization angle, and yet they want the AI. So let's all continue to watch this space. Geopolitics is going to be with us for a while. Not to mention China is the GCC's largest trading partner, as I mentioned earlier, and the trade between the two even getting bigger with the FTA signed soon. So all this conjecture places GCC in a good spot, but it's going to be exciting.